Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to DOdaily, the live question and answers, Thursday thoughts. Des here. Looking forward to getting stuck into your questions this week. Thank you for all the input as ever. Really appreciate receiving those and the feedback to the last week's throwback. Of course, it's the usual format. Some questions to go at. No particular subject this week, a bit of variation, one about running, one about food, and a couple of other bits and bobs. And then, of course, this week's throwback. And we're a look to get your responses to hopefully get more information to inspire others and people who are watching in to just think about the way they're approaching things. And of course, this week, I've had to really sort of dig deep whilst I'm okay. I'm absolutely fine. I had bad news on Monday and I've spoke about it throughout the week. It's kind of been a bit of a period of reflection, and sort of dealing with sad news, with grief and those kind of things. But having had a good couple of weeks, it just proves that life climbs up and bites you on the backside when you least expect it. But what it has done, having those good weeks, being positive, being in sort of a good frame of mind, has helped me deal with it, helped me try and find the positives in it. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely sad. I'm not overlooking the situation. I'm not sort of disrespecting it. Definitely not. It's really, really affected me, really got to me. But like I say, for being positive beforehand, for remembering the good things, I'm always talking about using the positives. I've been able to reflect and take so many memories, so many good times forward with me and look at it that way, and it just helps that little bit. It gets us through. Of course, I always try and work off the positives, and so this week it has been kind of been sort of back and forth with the way I put things across, but I think still managed to find a way to get the message out, talk about all the things I enjoy, use the daily themes to sort of keep pushing forward, and like I say, we have to experience these situations in life, but I think I just find a way to make it work for me. I touched on at the end of yesterday's episode that there's other people who will suffer through this particular situation, through other situations, a lot more than me. But that doesn't take anything away from the fact it's sad and it's difficult to deal with. But like I say, having done all those things, having prepared myself, and that's all we have to do sometimes. I realised a while ago that we're not invincible. And I think that was the start of sort of getting into all this kind of health and well-being and looking at things. And I say it every week, I'm not perfect. I let it slip and I have to go again, But at least it's always there to some degree. And it's situations like what's happened this week that really sort of pull me back up, make me determined and sort of committed to keep pushing on, So, of course, we can't sort of dwell on these things, and there's lots of things to sort of get through before it's over. But it's just a case of getting through, doing all the things. Today's been a great example of that. Whilst it has been on my mind, and going to the football again last night brought everything out. It was raw, it was emotional. It was more time to reflect. Today has been more sort of getting back to normal, doing the things I do, cracking on, and using those to give me that focus, to give me that drive, and to keep doing all the things. I mentioned the fact it was my aunt who passed away, somebody who really, really sort of got behind me and had faith in me to sort of understand what I was doing, wanted to understand and often told me that. So that's important for me, just to keep pushing on. I don't even need to tell myself, that says it all, keep doing it. If I've got any respect for that person, just keep pushing on. And that's what I'm doing. Like I say, today, just got back from the coaching session, put the guys through their paces. Really, really tough one. We did the bleep test. Anybody who's ever done that will be like, oh my God, it's an absolute nightmare. But they set about it in the right attitude, in the right manner. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Varying results. But again, it gives us that little bit of accountability and something to work to in the future. And that's just kind of the message this week, isn't it? It's about getting through, and seeing where we are, coming through each situation that little bit better and taking it forward. And last week, of course, I popped up that throwback of what's the thing you love to do and take time out, and that become really sort of relevant to me this week, didn't it? With my auntie passing away. My auntie was the first person who, my uncle took me to football not long after my own dad had died, so there was, of course, reasons for that, and it really shaped the way I did. And I spoke about football a lot recently because of it's come back. I can go. I've actually been to 3 games in a week at the City Ground, so, and that's what I was making reference to. Of course, last Wednesday was the first time in there for 18 months. I didn't realise how much it was going to be, how important it was going to be to me this week. But the question was, what's the thing you love to do to take time out? Of course, I speak all the time about doing DOdaily, my running, all these things that are really important to me. And when we get to do those, like today, it's just taken my mind off everything that's going off, and you've got to find time to do it. You've got to make that time. I talk about every Wednesday in particular, midweek motivation, Wednesday workout, about using it to distract us from what's going off, even if we feel we haven't got time. And I got a response there from Debbie. I need to make time to have time out. Just reading your post have made me think, yes, you definitely do. Of course, I'm not going to preach on. Everybody's got busy lives. Everybody struggles to find time at times. I've mentioned in the past 3 or 4 weeks about being a little bit overwhelmed with everything, sort of coming out of lockdown and the reintroduction of groups and having to be here and there and attend this meeting. A lot of the time we could sort of work from home or work from my desk, and just get everything done. But again, it's all crept up on us, but it is so important to find things you enjoy. And a couple of people have responded. Kay said not including running, a nice hot bath and a good book is a go-to thing. Quite often when I'm watching football, she sneaks off to the bathroom and she can be fine doing that with the odd glass of wine or two as well. So it's just something she really enjoys. Of course, we live in a world of showering every day. Sometimes we forget about the bath again, but it's a nice thing to go and do for Kay. Dawn, she says she loves watching Only Fools and Horses. Anyone who knows her knows she's a massive fan. She says she must have watched Jolly Boys Outing over 100 times. Absolute cracking episode, that. Bit of a Fools and Horses fan myself when I was younger. But again, it's just that program, isn't it? That escapism, knowing what you're going to see sometimes, knowing it takes your mind away, it just helps you do that. Ian says after a tough day, he likes to sit back and relax in the hot tub. Why wouldn't you? Absolutely brilliant to do, and I'm pretty sure it's going to relax. I'm not lucky to have a hot tub myself, but I've actually used Ian's hot tub, so I know how nice it is. So, like I say, why wouldn't you? And it's just a few things to go out there, and again, it's just those little ideas, isn't it? When things get busy, Debbie started the sort of ball rolling there with the fact she needs to make time to have time out. And like I said, absolutely. I always talk about it, like I said before, on a Wednesday, because I feel things start creeping up on us. And if we don't take that time, if we don't sort of relax and enjoy the things we do, it's almost like, it's almost a false economy of where we're at. We think we're okay. We think we need the time to climb on top of things. But sometimes just by taking the pace off for 10 minutes, go for a quick walk, watch an episode of Only Fools and Horses, get in the hot tub, can just be that sort of recharge we need. It's almost like a battery, isn't it? Batteries run out, phone batteries run out, and when they're gone, they're gone. They don't come back on until you do give them a rest and do something about it. And I suppose it's the same with ourselves. It's something we really need to do. Really believe in that now. In the past couple of weeks, I've got back to my walking on a Monday, and that's been so important. Of course, this Monday with the bad news, it was, but the week before really put me back into things, And it's not something I've completely neglected, but throughout lockdown, I was making this point. Of course, Monday's a difficult day sometimes to get going after busy weekends, the thought of a daunting week ahead. But I was taking a real good time out on a Monday to get that activity in. Whilst it was a time out, I'd still get little jobs done in the meantime, but getting a good 10K walk in, being out for a couple of hours in the fresh air, all those benefits as well. I'll talk about those a lot more on Wake Up to Walk in the morning, but everything together, taking myself away, completely sort of zoned out, it's been fantastic. And that's all I'm talking about this. That's one of my real go-to things. So answering my own question, it's absolutely brilliant when I get out on a Monday. And I use that time as well to plan and prepare, so I'm not putting pressure on to do that, but almost subconsciously, I sort of think, well, I've got this time now, how can I do it better going forward? I'm taking this time to have a rest, so how am I going to build on that and make it work for me for the rest of the week? So there's a few things to go out there. Hopefully that helped. Like I say, it's just to sort of get an idea of how people tackle different certain things. We all experience it differently. We all need different things to pick us up, and that's just an example. Thanks for the responses, guys. Of course, there'll be another feedback at the end of the episode. Moving into question 1. Megan asked the question, how do you stay motivated to run? Well, of course, I speak about this a lot of the time, don't I? What my big thing through DOdaily is encouraging health and well-being, encouraging people to make improvements. And my passion is running. So it's what I talk about sort of on and off every single day, how I get out there. The real motivation these days, and I'll sort of backtrack a little shortly, is it keeps me on top of my mental health, and that's just fact now, Until recently, I didn't realise how much it kept me on top of my mental health. I started running when I was in not the best place, and as things build, you can kind of get a little bit complacent and forget how much it does actually impact it. Other things come in as you improve, as you start feeling happier and more content. Other things make you happy. You live in a better life. Because of it, I lost weight. So again, I felt confident in that sense. But it wasn't until sort of the pandemic and really getting back on it, and then not having it again because of being injured, that I really understood it. It's the running that really makes me tick. When I can do that, everything falls into place. I find the determination I need to get up early, to set challenges, to set targets, all these things that make me sort of want to keep running, or make me accountable to keep running. But when I run, it's almost catch-22 because I need to set all these things to actually get out there. But when I've got the ability to do it, there's almost no questions asked anymore. I'm going to go and do it. If you're not quite sort of that mindset and don't feel it's that important to your mental health, there's great ways to sort of stay on top of it. Set yourself a target first off. I always say to the guys at the coaching session, you need to be working to a target. Sometimes when you don't feel like it, you might find an excuse to say, can't be bothered today. I don't want to do it. I've said it already this week. You can have results or excuses. You can't have both. And that's fact. You will know if you're making excuses. I know when I make excuses, and it doesn't matter what anyone ever says. If they question you, you will know the excuses you make. If you want the results and then you don't get them, you've only got yourself to blame, but you'll only beat yourself up as well. It doesn't really matter what anybody else says, So again, it's a case of setting those targets, making yourself accountable. But you can use things like set running groups, of course, who do running, I have to be there on a Tuesday. I have to be there on a Sunday. I have to be there on a Wednesday. So that's 3 times a week when I can run, that I will run, because that's kind of my role now. But it's also, again, it's all about accountability, isn't it? So even when I'm not feeling like it, there's 3 times there. If I make that commitment to go, I put an event up for every session we do, and ask people to click going, because when you click going, you're more likely to go and do it. Those people who go, oh, I might come along, but I'm not going to click it. It's fine. You don't have to. And if you don't need that, that's fine. But as human beings, we tend to sort of, if we say we're going to do something, we generally do it, you know, or we find excuses. And that's the reality, isn't it? You know, so for me, it's targets. It's taking yourself to an environment where people can support you with it, you know, which means running groups. You can arrange to meet with somebody. You know, when I am fit and well, when I'm running every day, I always like to meet someone, particularly in the morning, because I am rubbish at getting up. So it's really useful to meet with somebody. So you're not going to let them down again. It's that thing about it all boils down to accountability. So it's targets, meeting people, going to a group, of course, I believe in that. You know, I'm pretty determined and can get out there on my own. But that means personal targets in my head. I can't really cope with not hitting targets. And I don't hit every target. I'm not pretending I'm perfect. But when I don't, you know, I have to do it again. I have to prove to myself that I can do it. You know, if I say I'm going to do something, if I say I'm going to do it for a certain time, I want to do it, you know, and if I don't do it, it irks away at me until I have done it. So I'll quickly get back on it and do it. You know, I've got big events coming up, which I'm really sort of stressed out about whether I can do them or not, but I'll do whatever I can to do them, you know, and again, it means sometimes it means going back to the drawing board, going back to basics and giving it a real go. But if that's what it takes, you know, that's what I'll do. I've been there before. I was there at the start of this year, worked really hard for 2-3 months and got on top of it, you know, and that's what I need again personally. That's what keeps me motivated, thinking I want to do certain things. You know, I've still got targets for my running. I feel like I picked running up late, you know, whether 35 when I started is old or not, you know, whether that matters too much. It's never too late to start. It doesn't matter. But I feel I could have got into it sooner and could have made certain changes. I think we'll always feel like that. But what that means is after a really good couple of years of losing weight, being healthy, being well, I've had a really inconsistent couple of years of being injured, being ill. You know, I had an operation in that time. And I want that really consistent time again because I've still got targets. I feel I've still got scores to settle. You know, much of what I do around do running, do daily is just looking at small changes and not trying to be too competitive. But with myself, I'm absolutely competitive. That's kind of where I feel you have to get with it, you know, with yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It's what's going on sort of up here. You know, if you can make an excuse or you can set yourself a target and not do it, that's fine. But you're going to find it difficult to find that consistency to keep going. Thanks for the question. Hopefully that sort of dug a little bit deeper into my mindset and what I'm thinking around that one. Moving on to question 2. It's an interesting question. This one comes from Mr. Dore. He's got his own forest YouTube channel. I'll drop the link in for that. I'm actually on it after this episode at 9 o'clock, which I will just say, James asked me a question and I wasn't going to put it in this week. He asked me who I want to be the next forest manager when the inevitable happens and the current one gets sacked. We've not started too well. That's all I'm going to say on the matter, because if you want to tune in after, I'm going to be talking about the situation with the forest manager. It's a football specific thing. So if that's your thing, check out the link, which I'll post up. But going back to Mr. Dore's question, do you have any tips for eating healthy at work? He actually sort of extended on that. I've not written it out there, but he says that he works shifts and he can, when he gets to work, eat all the wrong things, be unhealthy and just sort of snack away. You know, we're all a little bit guilty of that. That's something I was really, really guilty of until more recent times. I can still be guilty of it now when I'm not on it. But it's all about sort of planning and preparing with food, isn't it? At the moment, Kay's finding a way to get us a little bit healthier by writing down the meals for the week. What I do personally at work, there's vending machines there's a van that comes around in the morning making a noise and shouts, come and eat a bacon sandwich. Don't believe me, I'm tempted every day. But what I do is make sure I actually take my breakfast to work. I don't eat too early, but I'll take my breakfast to work. I'll eat it when I'm there. So hopefully that sees me through. The measures I take to stop myself going to the van, going to the vending machine, is to not take any money, not take any cards or anything like that, not take any extra snacks, So what I'm trying to do, particularly at the moment, I've done this before, is take my breakfast and then drink a lot of water throughout the morning. I'm quite lucky. I work till sort of just after lunchtime. So when I get home, I can eat my lunch and then I've got more work to do in the afternoon. But for me, when I'm busy, I'm not I'm not thinking. I can be a little bit guilty like everybody else when I'm not busy, sort of mooching around, looking at what's available. Told you what I do at work, but if you've got to work a full day, a full shift, just take what you need, take your packed lunch, a healthier version. Because if the opportunity is there to go out to the shop, sometimes when things stress us out, we make bad decisions. We need a fizzy drink. We need a burger from McDonald's, all these kind of things. If the opportunity is there, you'll do it. If you've taken your food, you're more likely to eat that, aren't you? Sometimes we've all been there. We've all thought, I've had a bad day. I'm not eating a packed lunch. I'm going to eat a takeaway or something like that. But what I'd say there, Mr. Dore, is just plan and prepare what you're doing. Make your snap before you go. A little bit boring sometimes, I know, a bit samey, but it also gets you into that habit, of not eating too much, not eating the wrong things, not eating it too soon. Try and be busy. I'm quite lucky. I can get all my work into the morning, a lot. In that particular side of what I do, I can get all my work in. I'm busy doing things, and it just takes my mind. When I do get hungry, don't get me wrong, I drink a lot of water, or try to at least. It's another habit that you can get used to. Drinking, I think I read something once, if you drink a glass of water 20 minutes before your meal, you're likely to only want 80% of what you would have if you didn't. So that's one way of sort of fending off hunger. You don't feel like it at the time, but sort of filling yourself up on water. And we all know that what water does for us anyway, for all sorts of different reasons. It's great when we are having a bad day, it can just calm us down a little bit, de-stress us, and help us in that sense. So there's a few things you can do there. Like I say, planning and preparing, it might seem like effort at the time. But if you do it and your packed lunch is ready, or you take your breakfast with you, or you take fruit or different things, you don't have to think when you're there. You don't have to think in the morning. If you've got your routine set, like I say, don't take money if you can, if that's possible. Just take what you need, take what you can sort of survive on, and take it from there almost. Work's a difficult one sometimes, isn't it? People work in offices and places where cakes come in and things like that. Then I guess it just boils down to a bit of self-discipline. If you've gone in the right mindset, if you've gone with your packed lunch, if you've gone with healthier options, you're more likely to turn them down. I know when I'm kind of off it, I do this quite often with drink. I can have a drink because, it doesn't matter, because I had one yesterday and I had one the day before, but if I tell myself I'm not going to drink for this period of time, I still sort of socialise in pubs, socialise in environments where drink is available, but I don't always have to have it if I'm into the habit, if I'm into the routine. And that's what I'm trying to say. Then it just boils down to self-discipline. And like anything, I try and work off this basis, even though it makes it sound like an addiction. But it's the same with food. It's the same with drink. Just one day at a time sometimes. It's easy to say we won't do this for this period of time. But if you're really struggling with that, just don't have it for one day. And then that's one day ticked off. And then you go again the next day. And before you know it, after a week of eating healthy, start feeling better about yourself, and that's a nice feeling. Then you might make another small change. And again, if weight's not a particular problem, it's just about those small changes, isn't it? When I'm healthy, after my tea in the evening, I'll have a yogurt. I always have a cup of tea before bed and a yogurt. If I'm not healthy, I'm having ice cream. Try not to sort of hit the puddings, but it's that thing, isn't it? It's just making that slight change and substituting one thing for another. And we all know what's good for us and what particularly isn't. So thanks for that question. Hopefully that helps. Question 3, how do you think people have adapted to the lifting of restrictions? This is from Mark. And incidentally, today is 1 month since the restrictions in England was sort of kind of completely wiped out. Of course, we're all wearing a mask where we have to. I still wear one when I'm moving around at work, when I'm on public transport. But in terms of everything else, it seems to have absolutely gone back to normal, doesn't it? I mentioned there, I've been to 3 football matches in a week, busy football matches, lots of people about, no distancing, nothing like that. And of course we're conscious of everything that's happened, and I touched on in the last couple of weeks about sort of we're almost waiting for it to happen. But since I mentioned that, almost sort of on the back foot with it, I've just noticed we're just getting a bit more at ease with it, aren't we? We're just starting to get back to what we know, what we enjoy. I find even before the restrictions were fully over, when we could do something, there was a running event I did with Do Running where there was a lot of us in a camp. Even though there was certain things we had to do, when you're enjoying yourself, you tend to forget about it, and because things have been full on, whilst I spoke about it being overwhelming, it's also great to be enjoying yourself again, isn't it? I've had an absolute whale of a time in the last couple of weeks. Been quite out there through DOdaily, through my own social media with that. And it's fantastic, isn't it? It's when things don't quite feel so good, when you get bogged down with the news, something I spoke about a lot, news, Twitter, all these kind of things that remind you of it. We don't need it sometimes. We know the rules, as long as you know what they said in the briefing. Don't get me wrong, didn't watch the briefing every day, but you quickly pick up a rule change from here, there, or wherever, and it's important then, isn't it, just to sort of know that that's all we have to do. There's a lot of bickering about this and that, absolute rubbish. Earlier in the lockdowns, can we go out for a run? Can we do this? Do what you have to do, deal with it the way you have to deal with it, and you'll be absolutely fine. I think people are coming to terms with it again now, and living with it. Of course, the vaccination program is still being rolled out. There's still a lot of people having it. Despite what I said about the news, I've heard more evidence that the vaccinations are working today. And it's just a case of enjoying what we've got, isn't it? But just being cautious. Let's not get too far on the back foot with it. And like I say, I think over the last week or two in particular, the fact that there's lots to go and do, people are enjoying things again, without that sort of niggling thought of breaking rules, because I think that's what was putting us on the back foot. It's always like, should I do it, shouldn't I? Without that now in place, people are enjoying things properly and starting to move forward with it, still doing those things they have to do, the mask wearing, washing hands and all these things. It's definitely made me a lot more conscious of these things, but we're dealing with it a lot better, and that's it's made me positive. I've been able to do lots of things. It's made me enjoy what I'm doing. With all those restrictions in place, everything was just a bit of a, for the want of a better word, bit of a ball ache, wasn't it? It was just a bit. It was just a bit tricky to enjoy it to the maximum. So really pleased in that sense how things are going. Like I say, just have to be aware that it can all get a little bit too much, but I found a way of dealing with that. Like I said, I got back to my Mondays. I'm taking my activity wherever I can, whilst it's not running as much. I get out for my walks and do whatever I need to do. So of course I'll keep encouraging that. Keep encouraging. Going back to that first question there, well, the throwback question about using the things we love. That's important, isn't it? You know, when something starts getting the better of me, when a situation, what's happened this week in my personal life, or Forest playing rubbish, or things people have got opinions about on the news, you know, I just switch off. Just go and find some time away, you know, because if I just keep watching it and watching it and watching it, it's just churning everything about, isn't it? And we're not really getting anywhere. So, yeah, I think we're doing okay, and that's what really, really matters, isn't it? And what I will say on the back of that sort of question, how are you feeling about getting back to normal? This is this week's throwback. If you can pop some responses on any of the videos, you know, any of the social media throughout the week, I'd love to read them back. You know, I'd love lots of positivity from that. Of course, I'm offering a negative sort of response as well, if that's the way you feel. But what we'll try and do, if that's the case, is turn it into a positive, you know, and figure out how we can do it a little bit better. All I'm looking to do with these throwback questions is just use other people's experience to inspire us to think about it, you know, to see how we can change things for ourselves, you know, and because we've not always got the answers. I've not always got the answers. It might possibly drive a little bit of content for me, which is important. But like I say, it's just to see how we can make those small changes, you know, when it's not quite working out for us, because it doesn't always. I've said it a lot. I've been riding on a wave, but this week's been further evidence that life just kicks us when we think we've cracked it. You know, we'll never crack it. It's not the way it is. You know, life's unfair. Life's rubbish sometimes. You know, and bad things happen, and we can't control that, but we definitely can't be defined by it. So it's really important, guys, to keep cracking on, stay positive. You know, I'm not being blasé. I'm having to dig real deep, even to sit here and talk. You know, it's really, really difficult, and talk about some of the things I have. I'm not trying to ignore it. I'm not trying to bury it. You know, it's important. The more I talk about it, you know, the more I'll come to terms with what's happening, you know, and how I can keep improving and dealing with things that little bit better each time they happen. I touched on right at the beginning there. When you realise you're not invincible, everything changes. You know, you start enjoying it. You start making the most of it. And then I've also gone through a bit of a thing. I don't want to get too deep right at the end of this, but I've gone through a thing where I realise that other people aren't invincible as well. You know, and we really have to celebrate them while they're here and whilst they're not here. And that's so important. You know, keep sort of trying to be positive and happy and encouraging and supportive. And that's the message all the time, isn't it? That's the message I'm trying to get out through DOdaily. It's just stay on side with as many people as you can. You know, there's always going to be people who upset us, who make things difficult for us, who try and undermine us. But what we have to do is rise above it and keep doing whatever we can to look after ourselves first. When we're doing that, we're an inspiration and an example to others. But then we can focus on them too and really make the most of what we're doing. And that's all I really want to say today, guys. Of course, I'm feeling it. You know, it's been that time, you know, of difficulty, and it's made me think, and it's made me sort of more driven to get that message I've just said across. You know, whilst that's kind of what I'm skirting around a lot of the time, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is just help people, you know, communicate, stay connected, stay active, you know, use all the things that we all know work. I'm just saying it, you know, I'm not trying to preach at anyone. You know, somebody has to say it, because if you don't listen to anybody, you know, we're all going to get it wrong, and that's what's really important. So until next week, like I say, please pop your responses. Please pop your questions over to Des at dorunning.org.uk, all the responses to that throwback, or use all that social media that's been rolling across the bottom throughout this episode. I'll be back tomorrow with Wake Up to Walk, the next leg of the Robin Hood way. Again, I'm not really sure where it's taking me, but I'll have a look at it this evening, try and find out some interesting but probably absolutely useless facts about where I am. You know, I'm expecting a lot of fields tomorrow, but again, There's so many reasons I do it. I'll be reflecting more on the week, looking forward to the weekend. It's probably going to be a lot quieter than most recently, but still lots to do, still lots to look forward to, and still lots to be really positive about. So if I can do it, guys, if I can stay on top of it when things are tough, everybody can. Let's give it our best shot. Take it into Friday morning, take it into the weekend. Let's wake up, getting plenty of activity, feel good about ourselves. And whatever happens next week, we'll deal with it as well. Until then, just doing it.